make sure that your school stays open. And we see this played out year in and year out, created crises and then somebody to the rescue.
And it's a diversion, and you know the outcome as a government worker. You know how it's going to end anyways, and you just orchestrate the whole thing to end the way that you want, so you look good.
Let's talk about the breakdown that you have here on the per-property costs of supporting government employees. And by the way, if you work for the county or city or federal or state government, we're not bashing you as a person. What we're doing is bashing, at least I'll speak personally, we are bashing these institutions that have grown out of proportion and are now self-perpetuating and who are hurting individuals and households.
Yeah, absolutely. And my job is to get the truth out there. For instance, I'm not making a comment one way or the other, but we give $1,400 a day to the SPCA. That may be a right thing to do. It may not be. But how many people out there, I found that out yesterday, I've told a dozen people, nobody knew that. We're giving over $500,000 a year to the SPCA. Now, it's a contractual agreement. It's for animal control, and it may be the right decision, but nobody knows those kinds of numbers. And there's so many things out there that people don't know.
Gosh, I wonder if they gave the money to the University of Virginia in the same amount to turn that into a no-kill shelter for baby humans. That might be a better investment. Go ahead.
Well, in looking at this, trying to come up with something, we've become numb to numbers. You know, it used to be a millionaire was a big deal. When I was a kid, gas was 65 cents a gallon when I was in high school, and we were I'm a little older than you, Rob. And we were going to hit $1 soon. We talked about that. And everything's gone up exponential. And even a few years ago, we were talking about billions. Now we talk about trillions. I can't get my mind around a trillion grains of sand or pencil erasers or anything. What's a trillion? It's so much. So we just kind of tune it out. We become numb. So trying to get it back to something people can relate to, there's 41,320 units of taxable housing or housing units, condos and townhouses in Albemarle County. It's $2,248.50 is what that each unit is paying on average. Now, some are higher, some are lower, but let's take that average. So what does it take in houses to pay for some of our benefits and things that are out there? Well, one employee's health care, we pay $6,745 a year is our portion as taxpayers. A single employee pays $40 a month, and we're paying $500 and some. It takes 3 houses, the entire taxes for 3 houses to pay for that one employee's health care. And then if you look at their entire benefits package, which is $21,596, that's 9 houses. Well, just take the 592 county non-school employees, and that's 5,328 houses. We only have 41,000 houses. That's 1/8 gone just on the benefits for the county. That's not even talking about the schools yet. Once you add in salaries and schools, we're spending all of our money on benefits and salaries for county employees.
So what are these benefits? I know you've done, and Pete Witt has done some investigation into this, but give us some sense because it sounds like a lot of money, and I'm guessing it's not just your run-of-the-mill catastrophic medical insurance.
It's a Cadillac plan, and here's another thing about that is we're self-insured. So we've been collecting, we collected about $7,000 per employee last year. Now it's down to about $6,700. We're just taking that money from the left hand and putting it in the right hand, and we have over $4 million surplus in that account. So we've been overcharging the taxpayers. So another ruse, we go into a meeting, we say, we need this much for health insurance to cover it. Well, that's not the honest number because you have a $4 million overage. And what's going to happen to that $4 million? Well, it'll probably go into pool covers or libraries, empty buildings. It'll go somewhere, but it's going to get spent. It's not going to get abated back to the taxpayers.
But this is just one of many what they call fund balances. I'll call them little pots of money. There's surpluses, some of them big pots of money. We had a report within the last couple of years, Ken Boyd brought this to us, that the Albemarle County schools were sitting on, I don't know, I think the number was between $6 and $8 million in fund balances and then crying poor. I bet you the county government's got a lot of fund balances. It's kind of hard to get to the bottom of this number because they hide it very well.
Although with Tom Foley and his department, the numbers are there. You can find them. They're on the website usually. You can get to them. And if you don't, you contact somebody, and they give you the numbers. They're very honest. Jackson Zimmerman, on the other hand, can't answer numbers because he doesn't have a budget. But then look at to Wayne Allen Root's point, look at the federal government. They've run without a budget for years in Congress. So why do we need a budget here in the county? We'll just make up numbers and take what we want.
This is the trouble, and it's unfortunate, but I guess it's a reality of living in a representative republic that the people ultimately need to take control of their government. If we just sit back and say, they'll tell us the truth, they'll do right by us, all sorts of shenanigans will take place. And we've seen an explosion of this since the Great Society. But it's happening now on the local level where everybody who has a cause will come before the Board of Supervisors or particularly the City Council and say, well, give us money. We're ASAP. We want to study about, how many people can live here. So give us money. County Board of Supervisors opens the wallet, starts peeling bills off, and nobody's raising, at least very few people are raising a stink.
And if you look at a retiree on the health care, Pete told me that it's $105 for Medicare. For an 80-20 plan per person per month, and then he buys a supplemental and then prescription coverage. It's about $230 a month out of his pocket, $40 for a county employee for a better plan than he gets for over $200. We have, I think, a retiree that's 67, 68 years old should get a better break than a county employee.
You would think so, but this sort of thing encourages overconsumption. When there's a disconnection between the cost, I'm paying $40 a month. As soon as I get a sniffle, I'm going to go to the doctor and ask him for antibiotics. As soon as I have a sore arm, I want to go get some physical therapy. Hey, it's not costing me anything. Let's go to the phones quickly before we run out of time and say hello to Hank. Hank, welcome to the Schilling Show.
Well, your guess is dead on as far as this exponential growth as opposed to the population. And one of the things that I've seen, having been a lifelong resident here, and the thing that stands out in my mind the most as an unnecessary office, and I'm not slighting the individual who's in the position, but why do you need a county spokesperson? When I was growing up, when Sheriff George Bailey busted up a moonshine still or was taking care of a car accident, the reporter showed up, put the camera or the microphone in George Bailey or the deputy's face. He's the guy that's working the issue. He knows what's going on. Same thing with fire and everything else. But now we've created this spokesperson position who, she has to be briefed on what to tell the media. So you're just adding, again, another extra middleman. And this is what you're seeing. That's why we've gotten a location in the old Lane High School and one out in the Fifth Street Extended now.
Let's get a response here from Jim, and I know he caught part of the question, but I think he got the gist of it.
Well, no, I'm afraid I didn't.
Okay. Hank, can you just summarize in about a sentence, and we'll get a response from him? Oh, we lost him. Okay, we had some technical problems in here, but it was basically going to this whole issue of things getting out of control, and it's we've got the high-paid spokesperson and all these things going on that are now considered to be necessities. In other words, how could you possibly expect Tom Foley to speak for himself to the media or the police chief or even members of the Board of Supervisors? We've got a person over here who is professional at this, and then we take that and we extrapolate to all areas of government.
And we have to have a meeting with those people to inform them. I think it was one of the things he was saying, and that's exactly right. It's nepotism is good business, and it gives you an opportunity, like Obama's doing. Wayne Allen Root said, you hire these people, so now you have supporters internally. And that's how those positions get created. I'm sure that the gentleman in Charlottesville that was getting $95,000 a year to be a spokesperson, which you could hire for a lot less, that had to be some kind of a family deal or a nepotism deal or something. I'm sure it was.
Just get this, Jim. It's very interesting because that particular individual, Rick Barrick, his dad was the former Commonwealth's attorney. Imagine that. Here's a guy who just shows up in town with no experience virtually and gets on at $90,000+ a year. Of course, disgraced by going around and skirting Virginia's procurement laws. Lost his job, ultimately, hopefully will no longer be in City Hall because the taxpayers were fleeced. Jim Stern, thanks so much for joining us on the program. We're going to try and do this regularly throughout the budget season. I know you've got a lot to say, and we want to encourage you in your work with the Albemarle Truth and Taxation Alliance.
Thank you.
And you can visit them online at albemarletruthandtaxation.org.